because a lot of the mainstream news outlets have a lot of their content coming from online as well, isn't the bar lowered across the board?
Absolutely.
I'm doing like 8 hours every day minimum.
I mean, we've always sort of joked about how having to fill a 24/7 cycle makes cable news just talk about total bull.
Every day?
Every day.
Do you take the weekend off or something,
Nope.
bro? Like you gotta.
Well, what if it was a infinite cycle?
It's a little capitalistic, if you ask me.
You try to help as best as you can, oftentimes from behind the scenes as best as you can, and continue doing propaganda. I hope that the rest of your life is as horrible as it is every single day, okay? There you go. You are cancer in this community, and you're cancer in every community.
It's what I love doing.
Blogs are really dictating what's news right now.
You are just a trans person. Sorry, you don't know what the f you're talking about.
Right.
Because like cancellation isn't real.
So
right?
true.
If I say more, I will get in trouble.
I can't say anything about this subject matter, okay?
All right, that's
It's not a real thing.
Rumor has it she was listening to Hasan Piker on Twitch.
Oh,
right?
Oh my God,
Come on.
okay.
All right,
Let's
I'm closing it.
let's move away from this right now.
Right.
Because like cancellation isn't real.
So
right?
true.
What are y'all doing to me? Now, your own personal experiences are oftentimes going to be incorrect and not close to the reality.
If you've never encountered the humanities or a woman, you're probably in the STEM field as a guy.
That's why there's an entire field of statistical analysis.
Why are you roasting STEM lords? I grew up with one.
That's why we rely on empirical evidence when we're making decisions.
The worst one, okay? He literally builds spaceships now. God, I hate academia.
Continue doing propaganda. I think everyone in academia, if they're going to do media like this, you have to go through a course where you figure out what the conservative talking point tree is and then immediately speak against the talking point tree, okay?
Do you know how to do that?
No.
I think you do, but you're pretending that you don't.
Now, I'm just a dumb Twitch streamer for the most part.
And
What is
that's
this?
okay.
Weaponized incompetence.
Wait, so what happened there? Like that's like
I don't get it.
I'm confused by this. I mean, this is like
Okay.
Weaponized incompetence.
stop.
I don't think I need to be a male feminist to be able to attract women, okay? Horny, westoid, angloid-brained, disgusting filth. Disgusting filth, dude. Eurocentrist trash. Euro trash, mother.
I'm right and you're wrong.
Okay? Now, your own personal experiences are oftentimes going to be incorrect.
I'm right and you're wrong.
Welcome to Glitch Poachers. Hasan Piker is the most prominent political streamer on Twitch. You could argue he's one of the biggest political pundits of our time. While many creators have had their own beef with Hasan, I don't think people realize just how deep the deception goes. One thing that's important to note about Hasan is how he will resort to personal attacks in response to criticism. So I want to make it clear right now, Hasan, I do not care at all what you could call me. I do not care what empty label you can ascribe to me. Why? Because I don't care what a manipulator thinks of me, okay? I'm just not that concerned about it. While I drew a comparison in the title to Andrew Tate, and I will get to those examples because I do think they have an odd amount in common, but somebody who I think Hasan has far more in common with is Roger Stone. Now, if you don't know who Roger Stone is, he's the guy that got Reagan and Trump elected, along with a lot of other political stuff. If you know a thing or two about media manipulation tactics, it's clear as day that Hasan has taken many pages out of Roger Stone's book. Perhaps even quite literally, because Roger Stone has a book called Stone's Rules, and Hasan seems to follow a good number of them. A prime example of this is a reaction video Hasan made in response to Matt Walsh.
That's basically his goal, is to just get you to agree on what a woman is, despite the fact that in the real world, that's not usually how you contextualize what a woman is, and that gender is an expression, for the most part. It is a social construct.
In gender studies, there is a difference between biological and gender identity. Of course, before he even watches the clip, he assumes Matt Walsh is talking about gender identity, which he isn't.
Let's watch. I have not seen a single fraction, okay, of this video yet. I'm literally watching this for the first time ever. No pre-watching, none of that.
Before watching any of it, he dismisses it as Agitprop. Interesting term, Agitprop, which means political propaganda, especially in art or literature.
He came out with a documentary, movie, whatever you want to call it. It's just literally just agitprop, okay? It is just agitprop. Agitated propaganda.
Agitprop is something that Hasan promotes, and it was even the name of one of his podcasts.
I obviously have a gigantic community that also focuses not just on memes on the internet and sometimes watching reality television, but also try to do as much leftist agitprop as possible.
I have no idea why he would use this term to demonize somebody else's work while it's something that he gladly uses as a label for his own work. Hasan is so arrogant that he honestly believes that manipulation is okay as long as he's the one who's doing it, the all-knowing, the almighty, the perfect Hasan.
You are just a trans person.
Which brings us to our first Stone's rule: nothing is on the level. For example, Hasan's thoughts on cancel culture are all over the place. In an episode of Leftovers, Hasan said that cancel culture isn't real, which is funny because in that same episode, they were doing everything in their power not to say things that would get them canceled.
Right.
Because cancellation isn't real.
So
right?
true.
If I say more, I will get in trouble.
Gee, I wonder if that documentary that Hasan happened to call Agitprop might have a thing or two to say about cancel culture.
There's a women's swimming team whose best athlete happens to be trans. This is what an anonymous team member had to say. They've made it pretty clear that if you speak up about it and say anything negative, that your life will be over in some way. You'll be blasted all over the internet as a transphobe if you come out, and then you'll never be able to get a job. Anyone who wants to hire you will look you up and see you're transphobic. No matter your position on the trans athlete situation, it's clear as day that cancel culture is real. And I know that's an anecdote, I just think it's fair that if Hasan is going to use an anecdote to justify his blind hatred towards STEM majors, then I ought to be able to use one to make a relevant argument. Hasan's denial of the existence of cancel culture brings us to our next Stone's rule: deny, deny, deny. The reason why Hasan doesn't want you to think that cancel culture is a thing is because cancel culture is media control. You know who likes media control? Hasan. The less you know about Hasan's tactics that he uses to keep media control, the better for Hasan. There's simply no other reason as to why he would promote propaganda so directly and openly. Speaking of propaganda, let's take a look at the Hasan-Andrew Tate debate.
So you're not going to be able to assess the information adequately in the same way that empirical evidence would. This is precisely why we look at data.
Hasan, I don't think that you have any kind of understanding of how statistical analysis works. It's time that we have a conversation that's very long overdue. It's time to talk about lies, damn lies, and statistics. First of all, you're talking about the statistics of a very vague concept. What is a good driver? And since you and Andrew Tate never established what a good driver even means, how can you have a conversation about it? Second of all, if you're talking about the New York Times article that talks about this statistic, it's a misrepresentation. Yes, males do have twice as many fatal accidents out on the road. But how many more male drivers are there compared to women? There's no mention of that in the article. Maybe men just drive more frequently than women. So without that absolutely vital statistic, I could just assume that there's 3 times as many male drivers and therefore women are actually worse at driving, right? Not to mention cause, fault, and responsibility were never established in this study. Third of all, if I go to the top of a mountain and flip a coin 10 times and it lands on heads 7 times, I don't just walk away thinking, oh, at the top of the mountain, the coin is more likely to land on heads. Seriously, this just takes like a basic understanding of algebra and geometry. That's all, okay? So either you're incredibly stupid when it comes to statistical analysis, or you're intentionally manipulating Andrew Tate. So either you have something in common with him there, or you have something in common with him there. So yes, while I do agree that empirical data can be incredibly important, if you misrepresent the data, then it's useless. Unless you're a propagandist.
So you're not going to be able to assess the information adequately in the same way that empirical evidence would.
So kind of like that time when you said,
I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong.
Or that other time that you came after a trans person just because they disagreed with you, so you started to call them the cancer of that community and every community. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
You are cancer in this community, and you're cancer in every community.
Because if that's the kind of thing you're talking about, you're a hypocrite. The similarities to Tate just keep adding up.
I want to understand how you generate revenue. Is it okay to get this information for free, or do I have to pay $50 and then maybe get an affiliate link and get other people to also join so I can make a 10% cut off of them also joining Hustlers University?
Oh yeah, another hypocritical moment. Yeah, Hasan, you don't sell any kind of exploitive Chinese labor-made Teddy Fresh clothes on any kind of podcast, especially not when talking to labor reps. Right?
First of all, Hasan, where did you get your shirt? Second of all, Hasan, what do you think particularly visible people on the left, like yourself, can do to support the labor movement?
I got the shirt from Ethan Klein, Teddy Fresh. It's his brand.
Isn't it kind of weird that Hasan, of all people, would take issue with Andrew Tate charging like $50 for his Hustlers University or whatever, when the Chinese people making the Teddy Fresh clothes, which he goes out and promotes and probably makes money from Ethan from, those people make $4 an hour.
So glad to be on this battle with Hasan, fighting capitalism, wearing Teddy Fresh, supporting a $100 million company. Yeah, what could be more anti-capitalist than that?
I'm not. I'm here to learn. Andrew, you are a brilliant mind. Maybe a little rattled from the numerous concussions, but brilliant nonetheless. No. You are absolutely incredibly brave. You still might have CTE, but you are incredibly brave. I appreciate it.
I mean, whatever. It's fine.
You know what's a pretty serious thing in the sport of MMA? Brain injury. You know what a progressive shouldn't be doing? Making fun of people for brain injuries. I'm honestly baffled and just angry at this point. Yeah, I'm such a good proponent of good mental health, except when people disagree with me, and then I make fun of their mental health. I just don't understand how he can be comfortable with being such a bad representative of his own party's values. It's becoming easier and easier to come to the conclusion that Hasan doesn't care about his political beliefs whatsoever. He just wants to assert media control. Which brings us to our next Stones rule. Lay low, play dumb, keep moving. Some of Hasan's favorite phrases are, I don't know, I don't understand, and I'm just a Twitch streamer. This helps Hasan keep the bar for his content as low as possible so he doesn't have to put more time into research or take personal responsibility when he's wrong. This also allows him to misdirect and confuse his audience. A great example of this is in one of his Jordan Peterson videos.
I'm confused by this. I mean, this is like, obviously these sorts of generalizations are stupid because like ultimately there are plenty of people that do not subscribe to this norm. But overall, if you were to just lose sight of that for a brief moment and look at it like what he has stated is not exactly new, I would go so far as to say it's cliche.
So, based on his tone of voice and what he's saying, you would think that he just gave Jordan Peterson the old slam dunk. But Jordan Peterson was just bringing up some parallels between romance tropes and human attraction. When he's talking about tropes, obviously the things he's going to say are going to sound cliche. That's the point.
What he has stated is not exactly new. I would go so far as to say it's cliche.
But Hasan is able to confuse his audience to the point where they'll think that this is a worthy criticism to make. It's not. He's talking about tropes. He's going to sound cliche. This also plays directly into another one of Stone's rules, avoid being obvious. The thing that gave me the most hope during this project was that other creators have also started to see Hasan for what he is.
That's the thing with a lot of people, bro. Like, they hear something they don't like and they just shut off their brains and don't listen.
His fatal flaw is that he cannot honestly engage with any point of view that is different than his own.
Because I felt, bro, when I tell you I've not felt like this in my life, like, it's crazy, bro. Like, basically, I felt like they were telling me how I should feel.
Yeah, get used to that.
The getting up and leaving for extended periods of time just goes to show that he doesn't give a shit about even pretending that he's contributing anything here.
But when Too Mad showed up, Hasan ghosted him, saying that Too Mad was being the...
You've been begging to be on the stream. Pull up
And you say, tell me to come on the stream. Doesn't let me on. Doesn't let me on. Okay, so Hasan says, get on the stream. And then what happens? He's watching surgery on a grape.
You're going to be around a lot of people who think they know better than you. Even if they're white, they're going to tell you, no, as a black man, this is what you should feel.
Anytime anyone disagrees with him, it sends him into an unhinged rant, reaching for anything to get him out of this situation. He can't imagine a world where there's even a possibility of him being wrong.
I love my blackness, and I love...
There's just something funny about a black man trying to convince a white man he loves black people. That's how bizarre this world is.
Do you see why I feel patronized? You just quote unquote said that you're a super white person, and you're telling me as a black person how I should feel about going into the most town in America, bro.
Martin Luther King and the polite racism of white liberals. He warned about this for a long time.
Because how are you gonna stop if all you're gonna do is just cancel it behind the screen? Like, you can't, bro. You're gonna have to get down and dirty and get in the field and stuff like that.
Again, a lot of this activism is performative.
This is not over yet.
This is Ryan Holiday. If you're familiar with the channel Oki's Weird Stories, you might recognize this name for being the author of Trust Me, I'm Lying, Confessions of a Media Manipulator. After researching Hasan, going back to watch this clip from Oki's channel is honestly quite chilling.
Several years ago, there was a buzz surrounding a former marketer named Ryan Holiday, who was able to dupe the media into printing anything he wanted. He even wrote a book detailing his process called Trust Me, I'm Lying, Confessions of a Media Manipulator. Journalists say Help a Reporter Out is a research tool, but it isn't. It is a tool that manufactures self-promotion to look like research. Help a Reporter Out essentially encourages journalists to look for sources who simply confirm what they were already intending to say. The New York Times may still try to validate their sources, but it hardly matters, because no one else does.
This is where Hasan's inherent need to stream for 8 to 12 hours a day, sometimes even longer, comes into play. He's essentially able to drown out the mistakes of his own personal news cycle with his own personal news cycle.
Do you think if I stop right now to go debate on memes that were popping 3 hours ago with Too Mad?
Yeah, now since people are like calling me out for being disingenuous and deceitful, and it's like kind of obvious that I would lose a debate to Too Mad, it's just memes, guys. It's 3 hours old, alright? I'm really only interested in the things that are currently coming out of my mouth in the moment. That way I never have to be accountable for anything. Even though I've had to check their claims and double check the context of the clips they're using, I am so happy for the resource of other honest creators criticizing Hasan.
If you're gonna watch something and do commentary with something said and not watch what they said and build a narrative, you haven't said anything.
However, since Hasan is pumping out like 70 hours of news material a week, it's really hard to keep up with all of the things he's saying. We just need to recognize this is a pattern of manipulation. He's going to keep doing it. You should be allowed to think for yourself instead of having to worry about what the most popular political streamer on Twitch has to say about you. Especially if it's clear their goal is to obtain influence over information. And with that, I'll close with our last Stones rule. It is best to be infamous than not be famous at all. Instead of pounding the pavement, doing proper research, giving himself time to formulate proper thoughts, he would much rather just let his emotions dictate reality, which is why he acts like checking his Twitter account is actual news. It's not. I'd say I'm surprised, but this is exactly the kind of behavior that I expect from a poli-sci and communications major. While Hasan wants you to have this perception of him that's just a silly, dumb Twitch streamer,
you are just a trans person.
He's far more sinister than that. Somebody's been surfing in Kali, if you catch my drift.
According to Kali Yuga accelerationists, we are living in the Kali Yuga, or dark times. Surfing the Kali Yuga means embracing the darkness, letting things happen, and even stepping on the gas.
Hasan, I would be more than happy to debate you on the topic of equality. However, I have two conditions. One, you don't back out and weaponize that against me like you did with Too Mad, and two, we have a proper moderator. I don't mean Ethan Klein, I mean somebody proper. That's gonna have to do it for this one. Shout out to the best subscriber squad on all of YouTube, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
Let me see what kind of view count we're working with.
Well, I think he actually did pretty good because a lot of your fans, I think, went there to downvote it, which we love.